This week, Border Patrol agents at one sector in Texas were met with 6 large groups of people who were illegally crossing the border. House Republicans are taking a stab at the Biden administration's border policies, calling them a display of false compassion. NTD's Melina Wisecup has the story.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection this week arrested more than 1,000 people in a single Texas county. The arrests were made from 6 large groups who were illegally crossing the border in the Rio Grande Valley sector, and it's straining their resources. The sector noted the strain in a press release, writing, quote, "The logistics required to transport and process groups of this size continue to place a strain on manpower and resources."
I don't know of any Border Patrol agent that supports catch and release. I don't know of any of them. I don't know of any agent that supports pulling people out of the field, creating artificial gaps that cartels are then able to exploit. Nobody supports that.
Judd is the president of the National Border Patrol Council. He visited Capitol Hill today to join House Republicans who are decrying the Biden administration's approach to the southern border surge.
We're here to stand up for the forgotten Americans right now who are taking it on the chin, and we're actually standing up for migrants who are being abused in the false name of compassion.
The latest statistics from March revealed that CBP reported over 221,000 migrant encounters, the most in any month during the Biden administration. But the Republicans noted there's more than triple that number who completely escaped Border Patrol.
The almost 750,000 gotaways because our borders are wide open. There are rapists, there are murderers, there are pedophiles, there are aggravated felons. We know there are very bad people among that 750,000. Did I say they were all bad? No, but that's what they'll say that we're telling people. That's not true.
And they say the resource strain is only one of the concerns.
Last year alone, the DEA seized enough fentanyl to kill every American.
China producing it, cartels running it up through our southern border.
So what's the solution? Judd, with on-the-ground knowledge and experience, tells me the first step is policy change.
As long as we reward people for violating our laws when they cross the border illegally, if they're released into the United States, they're going to continue to come. So we have to stop that immediately.
Melina, even with these proposed solutions that the Republicans are putting forth, if they win the majority in the midterms, they'll still be operating under the Biden administration. So how are they planning to move forward with their agenda to change what they're calling these open border policies by the Democrats?
Yes, Steve. So this is a very real obstacle that Republicans do face. The former commissioner of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, Mark Morgan, told me that one idea could be for Republicans to use this, if they were to take back the majority, to use this as a window of opportunity to pave a path so that the next administration, if it were to be a Republican president, could quickly implement some of these proposed policies. But that is a long way out, and it's unclear how this would pan out, of course. And Republicans are suggesting to kind of use the American people as a vehicle to clarify the true situation of the southern border to the American people, to sort of put pressure on the White House, put pressure on the Biden administration to implement some of these Republican policies. But it's very likely that President Biden would veto any Republican proposal that did make its way to the White House. So even if the Republicans did take back the majority come November, this is a very real obstacle that they will have to face. Steve, back to you.
And children are at the top of the ballot in key elections, as they were in the state of Virginia, over issues of critical race theory. With the 2022 midterm cycle upon us, these cultural issues will likely play a major role in the upcoming fall elections. Elizabeth Johnston is author of the book Little Lives Matter, and we're happy to have her on to discuss. Elizabeth Johnston, thank you so much for joining us on the Capitol Report.
It's an honor to be with you.
There seems to be a lot of culture wars brewing throughout the country right now, whether you have the Supreme Court, the issue with Disney, CRT. Specifically when it comes to children, what should parents be doing right now to protect their children?
I would tell parents to please not have their heads in the sand and to be aware of what is going on in the schools, and culture on social media. We have TikTokers celebrating their abortions on social media. We have TikTokers really just coming apart because they are no longer going to be able to have casual sex because they are concerned that Roe v. Wade is going to be overturned. The destructive messaging that is being sent to children right now is very concerning. And that's why I recently partnered with Brave Books to write a pro-life children's book called Little Lives Matter.
You just mentioned that you had written a book. Little Lives Matter is the title. It's a very interesting title. Tell us a little bit about it.
Little Lives Matter is a beautifully illustrated book about a baby bear named Moby who is missing a paw. And this, of course, is a difficulty, this disability for him. And his mother is faced with the temptation and the bullying by Culture the Vulture, who is a character, a villain in the book, to get rid of Moby. And she chooses life for Moby. And Moby has a wonderful life. And then the book takes you all the way to the end of the mom's life, and Moby, Culture the Vulture, re-enters the book and is pressuring Moby to end his mother's life. It doesn't come across dark in any way. It's done in a very appropriate way for children, where they don't even realize, what they're learning necessarily, but they are getting the concept of the sanctity of human life instilled in them, and it just really teaches. It advocates for the beauty and the value of life for the unborn, for the disabled, and for the elderly at the end of life. And if your audience goes to bravebooks.com, they can get their copy of the book.
Wow, sounds fascinating. I mean, abortion is obviously taking center stage right now.
Yes.
Is there an onus on the early education system to instill proper values to children? And does this become more of a challenge the more we try to take God out of our everyday life?
Well, certainly, but I think most parents would be happy if the public schools would just return to teaching our kids reading, writing, and arithmetic, not questioning their gender and radical doctrines such as that. So, I'm not one of those that's necessarily pushing prayer in schools. I would just like reading, writing, and arithmetic in schools at least. It's gotten so absurd. We've literally caught school districts in conservative areas, for instance, in Indiana, teaching kids how to take the bus route to the abortion clinic because their parents would not approve of them doing so. I mean, this is as absurd as it gets. The radical sex education is just money in the pocketbook of Planned Parenthood, because that is their bread and butter, is unplanned pregnancies, desperate people coming to them to rid themselves of this unexpected pregnancy. So what's taking place in the schools, this is not what any of us send our kids to school for. Those of us that choose Christian school or homeschool, certainly we should be concerned, because our tax dollars are going toward this type of radical indoctrination in schools.
Elizabeth Johnston, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley defended their fiscal 2023 budget request before a White House Appropriations Subcommittee. The hearing comes after the House passed $40 billion in assistance for Ukraine. The Joint Chiefs of Staff said that we're living in a time when the potential for conflict is growing and our adversaries are only getting stronger.
We are now facing two global powers, China and Russia, each with significant military capabilities, both who intend to fundamentally change the current rules-based order.
Republicans expressed concern that the budget request did not keep up with inflation, effectively cutting the defense budget at a time when America needs to keep pace with foreign adversaries.
I must note my disappointment in the request, both in the amount and substance. As I said last year, I believe it's critical that we fund the DoD at 3 to 5% above inflation to meet our national defense requirements.
Austin said that he was offering a very healthy budget designed specifically to support the Department of Defense strategy.
We built this budget based upon our national defense strategy, which we just released, as you know, in classified form. We were very diligent, careful to make sure that we went after the capabilities that we needed to support that strategy. And I'm confident that we were successful in doing that.
Austin said that he was offering a very healthy budget designed specifically to support the department's defense strategy. A Republican congressman from New York has resigned from the House of Representatives effective immediately. Tom Reed announced he was not running for re-election last March after sexual misconduct allegations were made against him by a former lobbyist. Reed made a statement before leaving the House floor on Tuesday.
While I am proud that we put people before politics, there's much more to do. I am leaving to continue that work and hope to have a greater impact on our country. I want to thank my family, who without their love and support, I am nothing.
Reid's office confirmed in a news release to reporters that he will be joining the Washington, D.C.-based lobbying firm Prime Policy Group. Reid is one of 18 House Republicans who will not be contesting their seats in this year's midterm elections. So far, 32 House Democrats have said they will not be seeking re-election.